By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are in the beautiful Conegliani, Italy for the finals of the Prosecco Cup. And in this tournament, just a reminder, there were some customized rules applied by the organizers. And their base rule is Atlantic rule set, meaning Mana Burn is rule, Fallen Empire is allowed. The Harper Prism promotion cards like Arena, they are allowed. But on top of that, they've added some cards to the restriction list. And here you can see the 5 cards that they added. And I think when you're looking at these cards, you know that they were kind of trying to make specific decks a little bit weaker. Decks that are usually very dominant in the format. Think about the deck, think about robots, think about the rec deck, think about Twiddle Vault decks. So those type of decks are really weakened by this restriction list. And it's of course interesting to see, after a whole tournament with these rules, what is the results? What decks do we see in the finals? Well, I'm going to tell you that right now. In the final, we have Andrea Bianconi, who is playing a Tex Tower deck. So that's a deck built around land Tex and Ivory Tower. He's taking on Giovanni Giziot. Perhaps I'm not pronouncing it that correct, but he's playing a mono green deck with the familiar black splash. So I guess we can call it DFB green, right? Also playing with a lot more artifacts actually than DFB would. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe I should just stick to green artifacts and let you be the judge of this list. Talking about that, I will be starting with the deck decks in a moment. But before I start with the deck decks, first a quick message from the sponsor of this video, 3for1 Trading. 3for1 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, old school Magic players. They now exclusively offer my community free, fully insured, and fast worldwide shipping on all their high-end singles, full sets, and out-of-print sealed products. They upload new cards every Wednesday and have weekly sale offers and reductions waiting just for you. Use my code TIMMY to get free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Have fun ordering those cards, and thank you 3for1 Trading for sponsoring this video. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck decks, and I'm going to start with the player on the left, that is Andrea. Let's have a look at his deck. And here we see the deck of Andrea Bianconi. And this is an interesting deck, right? If I look at the deck, the first thing I notice is, what is your win con? How do you want to win? I only see one creature, the Triskelion. So maybe he just wants to win with one single Triskelion. I mean, it's possible. I mean, if we see what the deck wants to do, I kind of get it, right? We see a Tex Tower strategy. That means land Tex and Ivory Tower, gain a lot of life, and from there, try to win with your one creature. Maybe it's good to maybe first just zoom into land Tex and Ivory Tower in case you don't know these cards. Land Tex is an enchantment from Legends for 1 white that reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you may search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, shuffle, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle. Now, Ivory Tower is an artifact that works really well with land decks because this is an artifact for 1 from Antiquities that reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life, where X is the number of cards in your hand minus 4. So you can stack it in a way that you first get the lands in from land decks, and then you get the trigger from Ivory Tower. Meaning if you have 7 in hand, look up 3 lands with the land decks, you have 10 cards in hand, then you've got the Ivory Tower trigger, meaning plus 6 lives. So you get potentially 6 lives a turn if you play this right. Another interesting card in this deck I feel is Rainbow Veil, a land from Fallen Empires, one of the most expensive cards in the set, Fallen Empires by the way. You can tap it and it says add 1 mana of any color, an opponent gains control of this land at the beginning of the next end step. Normally that's a bad thing, but of course when you're playing with land decks, you want to give away your land instead of getting your land. So yeah, very interesting. Another piece of synergy that works really well here is Sylvan Library, and of course the life gain from Ivory Tower, because with Sylvan Library you can draw 2 extra cards, or up to 2 extra cards I should say, every single turn, but you got to pay 4 life per card, so that's pretty steep. But of course, if you're gaining so much life with your towers, you really don't mind. So I guess, what Andrea wants to do here is just build up that life gain machine, have complete control of the board. If you look at the cards, we see the usual, control suspects. I think balance is also really good in this deck because you're playing almost creatureless and with a lot of artifacts and enchantments. Those are things that balance doesn't count. So balance is really a key card also here in the deck. So yeah, you just gain a lot of life, meaning your opponent is probably not going to be able to kill you with just creature damage. And then eventually you want to win, I guess, with the one trike, or maybe you want to mill your opponent. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. And with mill your opponent, I mean, get to the point where your opponent is simply running out of cards. You, of course, have a few ways of getting your graveyard, shuffle your graveyard right back into your library. So I think, you know, you've got Velden's Cane, you've got Time Twister. So I don't think that Andrea really has to worry that he's going to run out of cards himself. Like he's thought about that clearly. But I think on the win con department, I really only see, you know, that single Triskelion. But maybe in the finals we're going to find out. Maybe I'm missing something. It has definitely happened before. Now let's take a look at the deck of his opponent, Giovanni. And here we see the deck of Giovanni. Now, this is at least the deck that I understand, you know. This is very clear to me. It looks like green DFB. And why am I saying DFB green? Because he was the first player that I know of, at least, that really started to push mono green. Also the first player that then made that iteration of adding a little bit of black to the mono green card pool. And I think it's really cool. And here we see that as well, right? We see that green core. And then we see a few black cards, Demonic Tutor, Mind Twist, and Terror main. We also see a City in a Bottle main here, of course, because he's not playing with any Arabian Nights himself. We also see that combination of, you know, Llanowar Elves, turn 1, turn 2, Ice Storm. But there is a big difference here because Giovanni is playing with a lot more artifacts, right? He's playing with 4 Triskelions, he's playing with 4 Juggernauts. So that's really a big difference if you compare that with other similar decks. So I'm really curious. He's made it to the finals. Obviously, it's working to play with these heavier, bigger artifact creatures. But I'm just really curious to see how that will perform. And I guess also against the control deck that he's playing. You know, Andrea, of course, playing super control. If he's able to get some mana dorks out early and maybe get an early Juggernaut, you know, that can really make a big dent on the life of Andrea. I think that's really a scenario that could work here for Giovanni. And another thing that I notice here in the sideboard is he's only playing with 1 Pendelhaven. One of the things I personally like about Triskelion is that it works so well with Pendelhaven, right? Think about it. It's a 1/1 creature for 6, comes into play with 3+1/+1 counters. After you've used those counters, it's a 1/1, and you can pump it up with your Pendelhaven. But I guess here, the idea of Giovanni is, listen, yes, this is a green deck. Yes, it's a lot of small creatures, but also a lot of bigger creatures. This is more green mid-range, so he actually needs the mana. Pendelhaven, of course, is a legendary land, so you don't want to have a situation where you've got 1 Pendelhaven on the board and maybe 2 or 3 in your hand. You don't want to have that. Normally, in a normal, like, green weenie strategy, that doesn't matter because you just don't need a lot of mana. So you can just tap your Pendelhaven, pump a 1/1, play an untapped Pendelhaven, and, you know, say goodbye to the tapped Pendelhaven, tap another 1/1, and actually deal a lot of damage. It's a good play. But in this deck, you don't really want to go for that because this is really more mid-range. He's also playing with the Jayemdae Tome, for example, an Icy Manipulator here. Again, like I said, the 4 Juggernauts, 4 Trikes. I mean, Trike is 6 to cast. You need your mana in this deck. So a very interesting take here on Mono Green Giovanni. And I'm looking forward to this finals because we've got 2 different strategies. We've got Andrea, who's full on control life gain, and then we've got the Butcher, you know, but kind of a mid-range Butcher strategy, Giovanni, right? So I love it, and I love the fact that you've tinkered with green and you've made it to the finals. So that's really encouraging. So looking forward to the finals. Talking about that, let's go to the finals of the Prosecco Cup 2025. Enjoy. Welcome to the finals of the Prosecco Cup 2025. We have Giovanni on the play. He's playing green artifacts with a little bit of a black splash, starting off with Llanowar Elves. Andrea's on Text Tower. He's a player on the left, starting here with a Library of Alexandria. Yikes. That's bad news for Giovanni here in the finals. There we see a Mox Ruby. Passing the turn, of course, wants to keep 7 in hand to gain some life. There's the attack with the Llanowar Elves, followed up by another Llanowar Elves and a Forest. So Andrea here dropping to 19. And I see the players are not keeping their life scores with the dice. Hopefully they'll do that later in the game, but I'll try to keep track for you. So 19 here for Andrea, who's of course drawing extra cards here with the Library of Alexandria. Deploying a Felwar Stone. And tapping 2, there's a Sylvan. And I think Andrea really needs an Ivory Tower here. And Giovanni, of course, has to go as quickly as he can, deal as much damage as he can. So that's 17 now, I believe, for Andrea. And no follow-up by Giovanni. Oh, that's bad news. That's bad news. Really needed more pressure here on the board. It looks like he's going to draw an extra card, so he's going to drop to 13. Has an Ivory tower now in hand, going to draw an extra card. I mean, once he's got those towers going, it's probably just over, I believe, for Giovanni. Perhaps he's got a crumble in hand. He can crumble the tower, who knows? But Ivory tower now deployed. There's another forest. There's the attack. So he's going to drop to 11. But I mean, he needs creatures. What does he have in hand there? A regrowth. It's not looking good. There's the pass. And now he's going to gain some life. He's going to gain at least 3, I believe, up to 14. And I mean, now he can start just drawing extra cards, whatever. We're going to keep it to 1, though, for now, being a little bit modest here. Of course, first want to go back up to a higher life total. I guess he's now on 14, if I counted correctly. Felwar being tapped. There's a Soul Ring. Going to draw an extra card. Going to go up to 8. There's a Plains, land for turn. I guess 7 cards in hand and pass, right? Or not? Yeah, pass the turn here. Giovanni attacking for 2. So he's going to drop to 12. Okay, there's at least some pressure, but yeah, that's just not going to do much. It's not going to cut the cake passing the turn. 3 more life again here for Andrea. Is going to go up to 15. He's probably just going to find more. Okay, he's going to take an extra card. Going to drop to 11, I guess. Yeah, it would be very helpful if the players would use the dice. But unfortunately, they don't. Yeah, there's the Abyss. This is so tough. And you see Giovanni picking up the cards saying, you know, this is not working. And you know what, Giovanni? I understand. I would just spend more time and effort and energy in the game too, because we've seen Andrea's deck. We know that, yes, he's going to win, but very slowly. So I really think this is a good decision by Giovanni. Keep your mind fresh. Look in your sideboard. You know what he's doing anyway, you know. And just try to have a better start in game 2. You were just unlucky with your start. You needed some big creatures, didn't find them. Maybe he's going to find them in game 2. We are about to find out. Game number 2 here is about to start, and this is going to be very important for Giovanni. The opening is going to be so crucial. Starting here with Elves of Deep Shadow. The big question is, does he have a follow-up? Let's first see what Andrea can do. Starting with a Ruby. Starting with a Pearl. Starting with a Mountain. Okay. Emptying his hand here. Felwar. I mean, this doesn't have to be bad news. Okay, there's a Swords to Plowshares. So that means that Giovanni's going to go up to 21. But this doesn't have to be bad news for Giovanni. We're seeing a lot of mana sources. That's not really that big of a deal. There's a Chaos Orb. Problem here, though, for Giovanni is, again, I feel like he's missing pressure. And Andrea here taking on his turn. Let's see what he can do. There's another Swords in hand, but no target for that Swords. We see a Mountain. Is that a Sylvan there? There's a Sylvan Library. We'll see a blue card. So first going to deploy the Sylvan, right? You would think that's an easy target for the Chaos Orb. So expecting to see your Chaos Orb activation. Going to tap 3 instead. Okay, there is an Ice Storm taking care of the Mountain, passing the turn. So I guess Giovanni is worried about a disenchant in response, or simply doesn't care for the Chaos Orb because, for the Sylvan, I mean, because Sylvan could also mean that Andrea will take some damage. That's perhaps what Giovanni wants, but I think the Sylvan is very dangerous here. Exactly, taking all the extra cards, dropping to 12. Wow. Taking all the extra stuff here. Finding a Mountain. Going to tap 2. What are we going to see? Okay, there's a Chaos Orb. I'm going to flip on the Chaos Orb, I guess. So Chaos Orb on Chaos Orb. And yeah, that's a hit. So Chaos Orb gone. And Andrea passing the turn. There we see another Elves of Deep Shadow. It's going to take care of that Mountain. And there's a Pendelhaven. Okay, that Pendelhaven is useful. Problem here is Andrea, of course, has a Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, gonna Swords. In response, he could pump it here to gain some extra life. Decides not to, I guess, or misses it. Gonna go up to 22. Doesn't matter much, I think, against a deck like Andrea. And yeah, I mean, things are looking bad for Giovanni. Again, I kind of feel like he's not finding the cards that he needs in this matchup. He needs to be super aggressive from the get-go. And he's not really being that aggressive here. The longer the game takes, the better it is for Andrea because he's got time to stabilize. Finding there a an Ivory Tower. Of course, doesn't have a lot of cards in hand. So also decides to keep the land in hand. It seems 3 cards for Andrea at the moment. So there's still opportunities for Giovanni. I'm not saying he's lost this game already. I'm just saying it's time for him to speed up. Oh, 2 blue cards there. Is that a time twister? Oh, doesn't have blue mana though. That's the only thing that's keeping Giovanni in this game. Okay, there's a workshop. This is awesome. Okay, Triskelion. That workshop was really needed. The trike here. Can Andrea find a blue source? That's what he needs. Yep, he's found it because he can make any color of mana with that land. Looks like he's still doubting it though. About what to do. I mean, I would definitely go for that land. Or not. He's first going to go through his graveyard. Thinking. I mean, you want to have blue mana, right? Or am I missing something? You want to have the blue so you can play the Time Twister. Okay, he's going to go for regrowth instead. So probably wants to wait another turn, perhaps. Wants to get 2 blue so he can do Time Walk and Time Twister. Okay, I get that. That makes sense as well. Now has the swords as well to protect himself. It's going to take 3 from the sword. So I believe he drops to 9. Because, of course, he took 8 damage before. There we see a Whirling Dervish. And Giovanni actually has him on 9 now. He himself is on 23, I believe. Ooh, look at that. Ancestral Recall. But it's actually not that useful in this case. So can you believe that having an Ancestral, not really being that happy with it, I think his best bet here is to go for Rainbow Veil. You know, and just play the Time Twister. And yes, it means that he cannot also play out the Time Walk, but I mean, you've got to do what you've got to do, right? Do you really want to draw extra cards here? I don't think you do. You're on 9. If you would draw an extra card, you would go to 5, because then you could also do Lotus Veil, Ancestral Recall. Exactly. It's going to go for Lotus Veil, tap the Lotus Veil. Yeah, going to tap 3. For a moment there, I thought it was going to go for Time Walk. Yeah, doesn't want to show the Time Walk there. Did you see that? Doesn't want to give Giovanni the information. This is the finals, of course. So it's tapping there to Lotus Veil for blue mana to cast the Time Twister. So Lotus Veil on his next end step will go to Giovanni. And I mean, this is not even that bad for Giovanni because he's going to draw 7 new ones. He was running out of steam anyway. And I mean, I still see options here for Giovanni. It all depends, of course, on what Andrea can find from the top. Okay, there's another Ivory Tower, so that could be good. He can deploy the other tower, you know, gain a potential of 4 life next turn. Also has a land text there. The problem is you don't really want to empty your hand, right, if you're Andrea, because you want to keep your Ivory Towers working. You're on 9. You really need life. Is that a Black Lotus there in hand for Andrea as well? I believe I saw a land text there. So he's got a lot of cards. But I mean, like I said, you don't want to empty your entire hand here because then you take your own Ivory Towers offline. Okay, he's going to play the Black Lotus. That already surprises me. I wonder what other options he has there. And he's going to crack the Lotus. Okay, he's going to play Blood Moon. Okay, so that's going to take out the Workshop and the Pendelhaven. And he's going to play out another Ivory Tower. And he's going to play out a land text. Of course, Giovanni has more lands. So that's something. Yeah, exactly. The Veil doesn't work anymore because it's now a mountain. And now players reading the card. Yeah, I believe that doesn't matter. I agree here with Giovanni, right? All your non-basics are now basic mountains, so all those abilities are gone. Or not, he's still getting the card. Yeah, it was tapped already, of course, before the Blood Moon was on the battlefield, meaning that the trigger already happened. So the trigger was on the stack. So they are actually correct. But he's now getting a basic mountain, so he cannot give it back. That's kind of funny. Doesn't matter much because attacks would be active anyway. But let's see what Giovanni can do. You know, he's got a full hand. He's got a lot of lands. I mean, he can definitely attack for 1, right? And then I believe Andrea would drop to 8. And of course, the Whirling Dervish would get a counter. But I'm sure he wants to find a way to deal even more damage. So 2 Ivory Towers there. But it looks like he doesn't have enough cards in hand to gain any life from the towers. Oh, and look at this. Now they're going to use the dice. There's a Tranquility. And it looks like Andrea is actually on 10. I thought he was on 9, but okay, 10 is possible. Then there's the attack with the Whirling Dervish. So then he's going to drop to 9. It looks like now they've stopped using the dice again. So they use the dice for one single moment, just to make it really difficult for us. I believe, according to my counting, he should be on 8. There we see a land tax. Okay, so I guess we've got somebody now watching the dice. This is just... Okay, he's on 8. Okay, good. Happy to hear. Happy to see that. That Tranquility was huge, by the way, but I got distracted by the dice. It's looking really good for Giovanni, I have to admit. There we see a regrowth on the Tranquility. Yeah, Tranquility is such a good card in this match because it takes care of those land taxes. And Andrea really needs the tax. He's now dropping to 5, by the way. This is almost over for Andrea here in game number 2. Yeah, there's the pass. No land taxes, no nothing. I mean, does have a Swords to Plowshares, so maybe he can drag out another turn. There we see a workshop. Sorry, a factory. There's the attack. There we see a Swords to Plowshares on the Dervish. There's a Disenchant on the Mishra's factory. That means only 2 points of damage remain here. Andrea dropping to 3. And again, we see there the Dice Assistant. Thank you, Dice Assistant. Thank you. That's helpful for us. Ooh, a Juggernaut. I love to see a Juggernaut in the finals, I have to say. Oh, and look at this. Andrea picking up the cards. Giovanni winning game number 2. And that means we're going to go to an all-decisive game number 3. So exciting. Game number 3, the big decider, 1-1. Here we go. Oh, Library of Alexandria here for Andrea. What an opening. He had, of course, a similar opening in game 1, the game he won. Here we see a Juggernaut. This is also a great opening for Giovanni. And then now, of course, it's up for Andrea to find a Swords to Plowshares here. Going to draw an extra card. Going to go up to 8. Can he find an answer? That is the big question. I do see some white cards in there, but the fact that he's thinking so much probably means no. See a Black Lotus. Okay, cracking the Lotus. Yeah, the Black Lotus is very helpful. We see the price card there in the middle of the table, by the way, the Prosecco Cup, the altered one, the altered land tax. It is kind of cool when you look at the logo that you also have a deck built around the land tax, you know, be in the finals. So lots of thinking here for Andrea. I guess he's thinking about, should I do blue for Ancestral Recall, hoping to draw into a white source, or should I do white and then maybe be able to cast the Swords to Plowshares and also the land tax. I think I would go for white here. Then again, I'm not in the finals, right? I don't know what these other cards are. Okay, first we see a strip mine, I guess. So stripping the Mishra's Workshop. That's good, but in a way also counterproductive. Just passing the turn. He's deciding to take 5, so he's going to drop here to 15. There we see an Elves of Deep Shadow hitting the board. A 1/1 creature you can tap for 1 black. And Andrea here drawing card number 8 after his draw step, of course. Went up to 7, then activated the Loa for card number 8. Ooh, are we going to see double swords here? Yeah, we're going to see double swords and then probably also the land tax. But the land tax, of course, not active at the moment. 5 cards in hand here for Andrea. Passing to Giovanni. Giovanni not doing anything. Oh, I'm not happy with that. Lots of live game, by the way, for Giovanni, but that doesn't really matter in this matchup. Okay, here we see a demonic tutor. What is he going to go for? I mean, he could go for Mind Twist, could also go for Strip Mine. I guess Strip Mine is a good option here, just stripping, exactly. You cannot counter it, you can play it out straight away. Stripping the Loa here seems to be a good decision. And now, of course, Giovanni could have used his land tax here. First, do some cutting. Interesting pattern. There we see a Tranquility. Wow, look at this. Andrea having no permanents left on the board. We do see a new land tax, though. And that tax is probably going to do some work unless he can regrowth. Okay, we're going to see an Ice Storm here. You know, yes, he's going to have an active land tax. Then again, you can only play one land a turn, right? So you can still try to keep Andrea small. But Andrea now has the land tax activation. And of course, he just needs an Ivory Tower. If he can find Ivory Tower and have land tax active, he's in such a good position. Still on 15, which is pretty high. Giovanni has no pressure on the board. So it's just up for him to try to find a tower. So going to pick up 2 basic lands, a swamp and a basic mountain. And we see some shuffling. And now he's going to draw for turn. And that's an Abyss, I believe. He's going to play the mountain. Or not. Yeah, going to go for mountain. And going to go for Feldenskane. Card from Antiquities. It's a card a lot of people used to play back in the day. But now you just don't see it that often. Again, an Ice Storm here. So really attacking the mana base. So Llanowar Elves, Ice Storm for Giovanni. Pretty good turn for him. Passing here to Andrea. And of course now just accepting that Andrea has that active tax. But Andrea not even using it here. Playing a basic island, passing the turn. I mean, you know, that means a Llanowar can do some work. And with the Pendelhaven, deal 2 points of damage. Andrea dropping here to 13, I believe. And there's a Jayemdae Tome. Yeah, that is big. This is very important for Giovanni. The Tome can lead to the victory for him. And now Andrea using the land tax. Very interesting third game. And I have to say, this finals is just very interesting because you're seeing 2 decks that you normally don't see in the finals. So here we see an Ancestral Recall, drawing extra cards here. So I'm sure that Giovanni can now find some Ivory Towers, right? Or maybe not. Doesn't have enough mana to also deploy the Abyss. Abyss, of course, a very good card against Giovanni's deck. Does have enough here to deploy the Blood Moon. That will take out the Pendelhaven at least. And, of course, the Bayou, so he will no longer have any black mana. There's the pass. He's first going to use the Jayemdae Tome for an extra card. Let's see what he can find. Then an attack for 1. Giovanni or Andrea dropping to 12. Another Llanowar Elves passing the turn. It's really up to Andrea now. Of course, he's got the black mana, so he can then deploy the Abyss. That's going to be a very good turn, I believe, for Andrea. Okay, he's going to find just 1 basic. It's a forest. I mean, I assume he's not going to play out that forest because you really want to play out the swamp and then Abyss. There's the Mox Pearl from the top. Yeah, and I think as soon as he can stabilize, it's looking very good for him. Yeah, there we see the swamp and the Mox. Going to tap 4, probably the Abyss. There's the Abyss. Yeah, this is really bad news. He's going to lose one of the Llanowars. Of course, he can untap, upkeep, use it first for mana for the book. Exactly, that's what he does. Then he's going to lose the Llanowar. Draw for turn. We see another forest. There's the attack for 1. So Andrea dropping here to 11. Yeah, this is tough for Giovanni. You know, I really think we're at a point here where the game's going to shift in favor of Andrea. You can see it of Giovanni a little bit as well. Not happy with the previous turn, being unable to find anything useful. He's got the Jayemdae Tome. That's the only thing that he's got going for him. I mean, if he loses the Tome, it's pretty much over. But as long as he has the Tome, there is still some hope for him. And of course, if you're Andrea, you still want to find that Ivory Tower. I mean, Ivory Tower is going to give you so much life. You don't have to worry anymore. Okay, here we see the Triskelion hitting the board. Now remember, Blood Moon is still in effect, so all those non-basics or basic mountains. Yeah, and look at this, Giovanni really not finding anything. I'm curious to see what's in his hand. Would it be just lands? Question mark. And more basics here for Andrea. So, yeah, he's really... every turn that Giovanni is not really doing anything is a great turn for Andrea. He's getting closer and closer to victory here, if you ask me. I'm going to find the swords from the top. Attack for 4. So we're going to see Giovanni drop to 22. And remember, the Triskelion, the only creature in the deck of Andrea, which is just so funny. So there we see Winds of Change. Yeah, Winds of Change and land text is really sweet. And he needs to shuffle the cards back in, actually not discard them. Has a Mind Twist in hand, of course, that he cannot use because he doesn't have any black sources. Yeah, I mean, here you can see that even against like a dominantly green deck, you know, and a deck with artifacts, Blood Moon is still good. You know, I think some people sometimes board out the Blood Moon when they play against monocolored. Let me give you an advice. Don't. It's very simple. I mean, you've got Mishra's Factories. You know, you've got dual lands for splash colors. You've got cards like Pendelhaven, but also Maze of If. There are so many reasons. Just keep the Blood Moon in. The Blood Moon may not be as good, but it's still going to be good. Anyway, let's focus on what Andrea is going to do. Of course, finding that new hand after the Winds of Change. Andrea being on 11. Giovanni being on 12. Sorry, 22, of course. Not on 12. That's a big difference. There we see a Felwar Stone. Okay, taking back the Felwar. Okay, gonna go for an Ivory Tower instead. Yeah, that makes sense. I would just pass, keep a full hand, gain life. Okay, gonna take back the land again. A little bit of sloppy play by Andrea, but it's not the end of the world here. Sylvan Ivory Tower on board. And you can see Giovanni just being a little bit frustrated that the book is not delivering. And to be honest, Giovanni, I also expected more from the book. Yeah, he's gonna shake his hands. He's gonna say, you got this. Look at him cheer. Hey! Andrea's in full party mode, winning the Prosecco Cup 2025 with the land text, which is also the logo of the Prosecco Cup. So it's full circle, you know, congratulations. And also just a big thank you to both players. I really enjoyed this matchup. Giovanni, your deck, I think it's super interesting. I also want to thank Enrico. Enrico, thank you, my man. He's the organizer and head of the Venetia Alliance. You're a great friend, and thank you for sending me the finals. And more videos are coming actually from the Prosecco Cup. It seems like a great event. Hopefully I can join you guys again in 2026. And of course also a shout out to the Venetia Alliance. You guys are amazing. You're just so friendly. And in Conegliani they have the best cocktail place, by the way. It's a true story. So if you're ever nearby, if you're ever in Italy, the north of Italy, you know, then visit Conegliani. It's well worth a visit. Anyway, for now, thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this finals as much as I did, please leave a like, comment on this video, and share it on your socials. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. Talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks to find out how you can become a supporter of Timmy Talks and help me continue making this content for you. For now, thank you very much for watching and see you next time.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. She rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the stars, put him in the stars,
Igitus figitus sumba kazee.